Welcome to Your Last Potato, the podcast where we explore how to grow your skills, navigate challenges, and thrive in today's professional world. I'm your host, Abda Rothman, and today we're diving into one of the biggest career decisions someone can make, quitting your job and changing careers entirely. It's one thing to pivot within an industry, but it's another to leave behind years of experience to follow an entirely new path. My guest today, Katarina Ausenius, did just that. After years of working in executive search, she took a bold step away from the corporate world to pursue her passion as a children's book writer. We'll talk about the fears, the lessons, and what it really takes to walk away from stability to chase something new. Welcome, Katarina. I'm so excited to have you here today. So let's start with your story. Please tell me a bit about yourself and your journey.
Thank you very much, Abda. I'm really flattered you asked me to participate in this section. Well, I think my biggest and my most important role is a mother of two. I love being a mother. My childhood started off in Libya, North Africa, an intriguing time in the 80s living in Libya with Ronald Reagan and oil crisis and instability in politics. But still, I had a very peaceful and stable upbringing in Libya. And I think that international experience in such a young age has really shaped who I am today and also shaped my perspectives. It shaped my studies. It shaped my appetite for the world. And it has definitely affected the reason why I'm here talking to you today, Abda, and that I can now call myself an author. I started by studying international politics at the university in Wales, University of Wales, Aberystwyth. And that's where the international relations theory was founded after World War I. So I got my degree and it was in international politics and Middle East. And I loved studying politics in Middle East, warfare in the Middle East, history in the Middle East, and the religion of Middle East. There are so many. I mean, the three biggest religions are present in the Middle East and originate from the Middle East.
You're not Welsh and you're not Libyan. You are Swedish.
Swedish.
Yes.
Global. I'm Swedish.
A global nomad, or what's the term they use these days?
Yeah, global citizen, global nomad.
So all these sort of, it sounds like from an early age, you've been used to traveling, used to kind of just embedding yourself into new, completely different cultures.
Yeah, the curiosity is there.
Studying sort of international politics. And so then what did you end up doing after leaving university?
Well, after leaving university, when you need to earn money, I continued with not earning money. I did internships that I had to finance myself. And I also applied for a scholarship. And I got one scholarship from the International Red Cross. I went to Brussels and I did an internship for the United Nations Regional Information Center. But then I wanted to do the opposite. So I went to former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, North Macedonia today, a small NGO financed by the German Marshall Fund and George Soros, the Hungarian businessman. We were sitting in an old apartment. We could hardly lock the doors. You couldn't lock the door to the bathroom, but it was so authentic, so genuine. And it was in a post-conflict zone. You had a quite brutal war in the whole of the Balkans. And Macedonia at that time wasn't so badly affected, but they crossed border with Kosovo, where you had a lot of refugees. So you had a lot of barbed wire between the borders and the UN vehicles. And that internship gave me so much more than doing an internship for established United Nations in Brussels. So I did that. And then I thought, I was well equipped for the world. And I went back to Sweden. I applied for jobs, but no one wanted me because they didn't understand my CV and they didn't know how to use me, they claimed. Yeah, that was a Debbie Downer. I got quite disappointed. But through my own network, I must say I've always been good at networking. And I think that comes with my curiosity in people that I got from a very early age. I networked myself down to the Gulf, to the Emirates, to Dubai. where I was hired by a Swedish language institution or language school, EF Education First. So I was part of a team that set up the sales office in Dubai, but still covering all the 7 Emirates. Cold calling, buying coffee, renting a car, participate in education fairs, driving to boys' schools, bringing coffee with principals for 3 hours. And then the next day I got the access to the boys' class because the boys could travel abroad. It was much easier for the boys to travel to the EF schools abroad, like in the US, the UK, South Africa, Malta. And if they wanted to study French, they went to France, or Chinese in China, Spanish in Spain, and so forth. So I did that for 3 years, and that was an amazing first career step for me, very entrepreneurial and back to basic cold calling. And that's relevant for all businesses, cold calling. You need sales, otherwise you have no existence as a company. Having friends from all over the world, my best friends ended up being from Latvia, Poland, and Ukraine. And we are still in touch today. I met my husband, Dutch, and we moved to Brazil. And once in Brazil, I had to start all over again. I had to learn Portuguese. I had to build up our new network. My husband drove to his office in our bulletproof car. It was a Toyota, nothing fancy, but still bulletproof. I built up our own circle of friends. We had a fantastic time. I also got into my first role within executive search, where my focus was on business development towards Scandinavian companies in Brazil. And there are plenty of those in Brazil. We also had our first child in Brazil. And after that, we decided that we wanted to move closer to home. So we moved back to Europe, ended up in Sweden because my husband started working for a Danish company. We resided in Sweden for 1.5 years, and we also got our second child. Once we were sorted, we thought we were asked to move to Aberdeen, Scotland, the oil capital of Europe, they say. So we packed our boxes again, sold our carpets and sofas and pots, moved to Aberdeen. It was a lovely time. We stayed quite close to Balmoral, beautiful areas. Once again, building up a new network, getting to know new people, customs, traditions. But that's how I grow. I really enjoy it, talking to people and get to know their backgrounds and their journeys and their life story. Fast forward, after 1.5 years, I was headhunted to Sweden. So I had to take the leap and leave my husband, but I brought the kids and moved back to Sweden, to the area where we live now, the south of Malmö. And now we are at 2017. And then I started working for a Swedish leadership consulting firm. So I did executive search, and I recruited primarily CFOs to listed companies, private equity companies, family spheres, and privately owned companies. And 6 years down the line, I realized that this doesn't make me happy anymore. This is not what I want to do. I felt I had great colleagues and I had great management, but it wasn't for me anymore. I had outgrown my role and I felt I didn't add value to the organization. Hence, I couldn't get anything back, I believe. You need to give in order to receive. And then if we link it back to Libya, which has really shaped me, I had this idea. I wanted to write a children's book about cultures and Libya and how cultural differences amongst children can create curiosity, which in turn leads to friendship and inclusion. And all kids should have the right to be part of a group. I don't think you can promise a child or an adult to always have a best friend in life, but you should always have a context. You should always be thought of. You should always be included in a group. And I've had this idea for 10 years, which started growing in Brazil in 2014 because I felt I was too left out from my Middle Eastern arena. So I gathered all my notes and cafe napkins that I had been writing on during my years in Brazil. I decided to quit my job then in 2023 to give this idea passion project, if you like, to give this a true chance. And so I did. I quit and I was so nervous. But the day I resigned from my job, I was so happy. My colleagues told me they've never seen me this happy before. And I take that as a compliment because one also has to realize that some career steps are only relevant for you in a certain time. It doesn't mean that you should stay there forever, 25 years and aim for a gold watch. That it's just because companies are changing, cultures are changing, you are changing. So one position in a company might be right for you for 2-3 years, but after that, it might not be relevant anymore because you are not the same person anymore that you were when you were hired, as well as the company is not the same as when you were hired. So anyway, I quit, I left, and during the spring of 2024, I focused on my book project. I did a home run, I think. I achieved what I wanted to do. I found that I was in the right element. My energy was back. I was radiating. I could feel myself that I was radiating, and I hadn't been doing that for many years. But I found a publisher. We signed a contract in July, and they like my story, and they like my mission that I'm out on. And my first book is to be released now. And the title is Nina and Aisha äter fredagsgodis. So in English, Nina and Aisha are eating Friday candy.
Wow, that sounds incredible. An incredible journey. Well, okay, there's a lot to unpack here. With the book, I guess the premise of it is this cohesion of cultures. The Swedish culture and the Arabic culture. And that is, it sounds like that, yeah, I mean, that comes from your own journey and your own experience of Swedish jumping into a life and a lifestyle and culture in Libya at a very young age.
Correct.
So is that kind of where it's really coming from and where it's linking to, and the challenges you've faced maybe?
Yeah, but I also think, yes, but it's been positive challenges and they made me what I am today. And I think life becomes so much easier because you're so open-minded, open to other people, cultures. You understand on different levels. You don't judge. You just want to embrace all that. And then you want to bring it down to your kids as well. You know, travel, learn languages, try different food. And, you know, the world is your oyster.
And do you think that, because it sounds like you've sort of reinvented your career many times from the start and moved to all of these different countries and had all of these different experiences. And so do you think that's kind of made you naturally a risk taker because you've done it so many times? And so then it was easier to make this career, a big career step later on in life?
I think so. And I think you have to. I'm also impatient, and I wouldn't say I'm a risk taker. It's just the way life has taken me in different places, and you cannot sit down and cry and be grumpy. It's like, okay, you end up in a new country because life has taken you to a new country. Then you just need to maximize your stay in the country and get the most out of it, I think. And then I also balance it with that life is short. You never know what's going to happen. So every day is great, make the most out of it. And yeah, if you end up in a favela in Sao Paulo, just be wise, but also, you know, don't be scared. Human beings are good and kind. You know, just meet people with a big smile, then you come very far. But also try to do new things, at least every week, not every day.
No, yeah, well, that's a great outlook. Can you take us back to when you first started thinking about leaving executive search? What triggered that decision? Was there like a defining moment when you realized, I can't do this anymore, I need to follow my passion?
I think that was the summer of 2024. I didn't have my motivation left. And I also felt like I didn't add any value because you work with people that are already safe and they can pay their bills, they can pay their foods, and they go on nice vacations. And I felt like I couldn't affect them in any way. I think that also happens when you're 40 plus. You have reached a good, stable platform in your life where you can, I think when you have the self-confidence and when you can afford to try to do something else, because I also rely on my background, on my skills, that I will always be able to support myself or always have an income. But then I know I do not know in what ways, but I had that as a mantra that whatever happens, I will always be fine. And then I thought, okay, now I need to do good in the way I wanted to do good. And that was amongst children that come to Sweden and that represent a different cultural background. And then whose parents might not feel that well integrated, or they need someone to invite them and bring their children together. And also, I am from Malmö. I love Malmö. I think Malmö is a fantastic place. So if I can do good for children in Malmö in my way, or at least for some parts of the kids or a handful, then that makes me very happy. Then I've done good in my way that I want to do good.
And it's interesting you mentioned the age, because studies show that the average age for a major career switch is 39. It's no surprise. Almost 1/3 of professionals feel unfulfilled in their jobs, and those who do, nearly 400% more likely to be job hunting. But here's the good news. Most midlife career changers, midlife in quotes.
Yeah, that's me.
They end up happier, less stressed, and with zero regrets about making the leap. And let's not forget, some of the most successful people reinvented themselves later in life. Like Morgan Freeman, for example, didn't have his big break in Hollywood until he was 50. Vera Wang became a designer at 40. And Colonel Sanders launched KFC at 65. But even though we do often romanticize career changes, the reality of following your passion and doing what you love comes with challenges. So what were the biggest obstacles you faced after making the switch? And how did you financially and mentally prepare for that transition?
I think the biggest obstacle would be myself. I would be so disappointed in myself if I wouldn't get the book contract, because I really believed in my story, and I am my story. And I think I'm really trustworthy given my international background. So I think that would have been tough if I wouldn't find a publisher that would like to publish me. So I just had to let go of those thoughts and just think I have to continue until someone believes in me and shares that my story is relevant, especially today. And how did I finance it? Yeah, but I mean, I've always been saving. I've always been saving money. So my gap year while writing now has been due to my own savings. And I think that also comes back to life, how you grow up and you travel the world, you see luxury and the sheikhs in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and it's gold and people live like there is no tomorrow. But you also see the labor, the gastarbeiter. You've been to other parts in Africa, you've been to South America, a lot of poverty. So I've also learned to save money at an early age and don't spend money on things you don't need, and don't be caught up in the temptations it brings.
Yeah.
Having said that, I'm not Mother Teresa. Of course, I buy things, but I always think twice, and I've always been saving. So, and I think that also made it easier for me to jump, because I knew at least 1 year I could survive. Then I need to start working in Kentucky Fried Chicken or move to Hollywood and become a movie star.
But did you have moments when you doubted yourself and just thought, okay, no, I'm going to cancel all this and I'm going to go back?
I did. But knowing what I know now, I don't understand how I could be reluctant. But then I would just do things for myself. I would sit there. I would go to the beach, sit on the beach, right? I would listen to music. I would listen to pods and always keep myself intellectually stimulated. Then my professional confidence came back. And I was always sitting in the library, working and reading in order to bury myself in the world of letters and books. And then I felt, okay, this is where I belong. This is where my book is going to end up next year. Of course, I had bad days, but, I'm guessing Claudia Schiffer also had bad days, or Trump must have bad days too, I'm hoping. I think you need to have bad days in order to have good days and appreciate the good in life.
Exactly. It's a normal part of being a human being, I think. I don't think I've met anybody who's had it smooth sailing. And they always say that the bad days are what kind of make you learn. And without challenges, you don't really develop.
And you also need to acknowledge your emotions and feelings. And then I also understand we're all different. I am very emotional. I'm very empathetic. And of course, that can also make you fall quickly emotionally, but I always climb back. So it's some people might be a bit more, quote, privileged, unquote. They don't have that openness to feel other people's feelings. And that's also good. But I'm very open to all other people's emotions, and I carry other people's emotions. So of course, you can be very affected quickly and fall down a bit, but then you climb right back up.
So I guess an element of this also is knowing yourself and therefore being able to manage yourself and your feelings and your emotions. So I mean, it sounds like you kind of were prepared mentally as well as financially, kind of this big step. But many people do feel stuck in their jobs that they don't enjoy. They just do it because they need to pay the mortgage, etc. And they don't take any action because they're afraid of the uncertainty, right? What would you say to someone who's feeling that way right now?
It's difficult to spontaneously, I would say, jump, quit. But it also depends on the background, right? Like you said, mortgage, cars, divorce, single mother, 4 kids, 4 boys. So I would say it's strongly considered, because life is too short to be unhappy. Life is too short to be unhappy. And if you're unhappy, the closest friends in your circle will be unhappy, or, you will just start to spread negative energy. And I think that's sad, because life is so beautiful. There are so many beautiful things in life. It could be someone laughing across the street, a person you wouldn't notice if you would have a bad day, or birds twitter now when you wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning. Those things you wouldn't acknowledge if you're miserable and you think the whole world is against you. So I think you should really start to consider, do your SWOT analysis. What's worth it? Okay, but maybe I will not have an income for a few months, but I don't need to buy this and this or do that. And then, when you have less, you become so much happier. But I think it also comes to your own responsibility that you have your insurances and plan well, and because no one else can do that for you. You own that to yourself to have everything under control, and then all other things are a plus. But you need to make sure that you have your own finances under control. And then you should always have your buffered zone for life, not to buy a fancy watch or a fancy car, but your life buffered. So you can take a well-deserved break or to find your next happy place.
Do you think then that your definition of success has changed since you've made the shift in the way that you kind of look at life?
Yeah, I think for me, success is about courage and being true to myself and dare to follow not my dream, but my passion project, that I dared to execute my passion project, because it was like a nail in my shoe for the past 10 years. And I kept telling my friends, I'm going to write a book. And then asked me, oh, how is your book going? It's like, oh, I don't have time because I'm working. My husband is working, kids, activities here and there. But when I just realized I had to give it a go, and for me, my ability to make the decision that I'm going to give this 100%, for me, that's courage.
Some people say also that following your passion, you could end up in the same spot as you were doing a job, let's say, that you didn't like. Like with any job that you repeat over and over again, you're eventually going to get bored and things like that. And there is sort of this idea that what if you could pick something, get really good at it, and then you would get the satisfaction from doing that thing and being really good at it that you would get from doing something you're passionate about.
But still, you've been honest. You gave it an honest chance to try to follow it, to try to execute it, and then you know. And I also think in my case, yes, I wanted to be a published children's author, but I didn't know if I was going to succeed, but I had to try doing it, because I also think if you try it, you're going to get so many new contacts, you learn new things. it's an eye opener, it's a door opener. So still you're moving forward, still you're growing, still there are new opportunities awaiting on the horizon. So I don't think it's a waste of time, and it wouldn't be a waste of money. And I think it's just a richness, new experience. And then you can apply that in a new way. And once again, you owe it to yourself. And changes can only come from you. You own your life. You are your own leader. So you cannot expect anyone to do something like that for you. It has to come from you. But then you can ask people for help. You can have a coach, mentor, but you need to try. You need to give it a go. Once again, life is short. If you're unhappy, then you need to sort that out. No one else can make you not unhappy. You need to sort it out.
Exactly. It comes back to being happy and feeling fulfilled, and trying something that you're passionate about gives you energy in order to continue moving forward and developing and things like that. But do you think that your past experiences had given you skills that helped you? So
yeah,
your previous
definitely.
career, what sort of skills do you think helped you in going for your passion?
In my career, I always been the one knocking on other people's doors, introducing myself, my brand, my purpose, trying to create a business, trying to attract people to recruitment processes. So I've always been chasing, and always being the person who contacts other people. So for me, this was so natural, just to continue being a project leader and to contact publishing companies in this case. And I also applied for scholarship. I didn't get any, but if you get a no, you get a no. But you don't know if you get a no until you have applied or contacted anyone or knocked on the door. So you are your own engine.
And you'll always keep wondering. You don't want to lay in bed when you're 80 and you think, oh, I wish I had given that a go,
Then it's too late. And it's not that someone is going to knock on my door and say, hi, Katarina, here I have a contract. Would you like to publish 3 children's books? Oh, yes. Thank you so much. I was thinking about it for the past 10 years. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. So
just go for it.
Yeah. And I also think I need to be a good role model for my children. I cannot tell them to be brave and stand up for themselves and follow their dreams and try new activities or whatever. If I'm a coward myself, and if I don't can live out my passion or stand up for myself and believe in myself, if I cannot believe in myself, how can I ask my children to believe in themselves?
Very true. Really inspiring words.
I'm in a very happy place now. I'm really happy. I don't regret anything. This is where I want to be.
Well, on that note, it's time for Coffee Confessions. This time we're taking a story straight from the headlines, and I would love to hear your views on this. It's really interesting. So it's about this 24-year-old nurse. She quit her job to take a micro-retirement. It's basically essentially pausing her career to focus on herself. She'd been working long shifts, dealing with high stress, and she realized that she completely burnt out. So, we can already just imagine what the life of a nurse is like working in a hospital on a daily basis. So instead of waiting for a full-blown crisis, she made a bold choice to step away from the workforce temporarily and prioritize her mental well-being. She's not alone. Apparently, a growing number of Gen Z professionals are choosing to take career breaks in their 20s and 30s, challenging the traditional idea that retirement only happens at the end of your career. It's part of a broader shift toward life-first careers where people value flexibility, well-being, and purpose just as much or even more than money and promotions. So let's bring it back to you, Katarina. You didn't take a micro-retirement, but you did step away from a well-established career in executive search to pursue something completely different. I'm curious, what do you think of this story? Would you have considered doing something like this earlier in your career? And what advice would you give someone considering to hit pause on their career?
When I was young or younger, I always thought, I'm going to work until I'm 65. And, you could look down on people who wasn't giving their all. And I also thought that when when I had my kids, when they were 3 months, I'm going to have a nanny raising them because I was going to work. There was so much prestige in this. I don't know. And maybe because my parents are from the 40s, it was a different culture mentality around it now. But I think I've had such a rich life. I've done so much. I'm only 44 and been living in so many different countries, been to all the continents. I've always had food on my table. Even when the heater breaks down, we can fix it. All these basic things. And I never had to stress about these things because I think I've done wise financial decisions. So back to your question now is that I wouldn't have reached this decision if I wouldn't have been where I was, if that makes sense, or maybe
Absolutely.
that's
that
philosophical.
Makes sense. Because
so I don't regret that either, because I've been given my life a fair chance to come to this conclusion. So it was the right moment, and I don't regret it for a bit, but the moment was right. It was a perfect time to do it.
I mean, do you think that is also kind of your character, because you followed your life as you kind of moved forward and had these opportunities to experience all of these countries and all of these different points in your career? So I guess you never really contemplated having a break because you didn't really need to. You were enjoying your life.
Yeah.
It brought you to this path. You had the passion in the background rumbling, but you were enjoying your experiences as you moved along.
Exactly. My life has been, what do you say in English? Filled with lust. That's what I've always been. Okay, now this is fun. Now I do this, and now it's time to change. But I think since I've always been very open-minded, I have let life carry me, and I haven't carried my life. But I think that changed in the autumn of 23 when I had to be the pilot of my life. I couldn't just sit in economy plus class. I needed to be the pilot. I needed to sit in the cockpit and okay, now I need to change the direction. Now I need to deliver on this project because I've been thinking about it for such a long time. And that project lived in parallel with me when life was carrying me. So I couldn't really take care of that project. But now I reached a stage okay, now I need to take care of that project. And I think life has only become better. I feel so free. I feel so happy. Anything is possible. If you have the passion, anything is possible. And of course, during this time, I've also spoken to a few entrepreneurs and investors, and they mention passion. It has to be fun, and you need to believe in it genuinely. Otherwise, you cannot succeed. Even if you're super duper smart, and if you don't believe in it yourself, it's not going to fly. I so believe in this. And I'm really, really happy. And this is just the beginning. So we'll see where it will end.
Brilliant. For our listeners who are considering a career change, I have some steps and resources that can help make the transition smoother. Self-assessment. Reflect on your passions, skills, and values. There are tools like the Myers-Briggs type indicator that can provide insights into suitable career paths. Lots of other different types of tools as well out there. Investing in education and training. Consider enrolling in courses or certification programs related to your desired field. And there are, of course, platforms like Coursera or LinkedIn Learning offering a plethora of options. Networking, connecting with professionals in your area of interest, attending industry events, and joining relevant online communities. Financial planning, which we've touched on quite a bit, ensuring you have a financial cushion, and also saving enough to cover living expenses for a few months. And if you can afford it, consulting with a financial advisor, just in case you are not finance savvy. Starting small, if possible, begin your venture as a side project to experiment with your new career path alongside, your job. And then just, testing the waters without immediately leaving your current job. And finally, embracing the learning curve. Expect challenges, but see them as part of the growth process and trust yourself. If you've been thinking about this for a long time, chances are it's the right move. I guess these all resonate with you, Katarina.
Yeah, it does. It does. You summarized it very, very precisely. But once again, just follow your passion. Life is short, but still very rich. So just do it. You have nothing to lose because you gain so many new skills. You gain so many new experiences and contacts. And
Yeah, it's never too late to pursue a fulfilling career. As Katarina's story illustrates, with determination and the right resources, a successful transition is within reach. Katarina, do you have any final words of encouragement for someone on the verge of making a big career change?
Speak to Abda. Speak to Abda if you consider a career change.
Listen to the podcast.
And also, I would like to encourage you to buy my book, Nina and Aisha, äter fredagsgodis.
I will post the link on our website. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Quitting your job and changing careers is never easy, but as Katarina's story shows, it can lead to incredible personal and professional fulfillment. If you're feeling stuck in your career, take time to reflect, make a plan, and don't be afraid to take that first step. Your next chapter might just be the one that brings you the most joy. Huge thank you again, Katarina, for sharing your journey with us. And enjoy this episode. Follow your last potato for more insights and career advice.
Thank you so much, Abda.